If you live in Seattle, you may have driven past it without even noticing it's there. But if you did see this one-of-a-kind structure, you likely haven't forgotten it. Nestled into the north side of Capitol Hill, just below St. Mark's Cathedral, is a house so unique that during its construction, art students came to sketch it. Journalists compared it to a block of cheese. When it went on the market earlier this year, most of the tours were for people who just wanted to see what it was like inside. But if you think this home is unique, wait until you find out about the one-of-a-kind, church-going, organ-playing, motorcycle-riding renegade architect who designed it. His life and work is just one of the extraordinary stories behind the unique structures and design of one of America's most remarkable urban landscapes. This is the City Edition, Seattle.
Robert Reichert was an architect who practiced in Seattle from the 1950s until he died in 1996.
Born in 1921 in North Dakota, Robert Reichert soon moved with his parents to Minneapolis. An only child in a family of devout Christian Scientists, Robert was passionate about architecture, religion, and organ music.
His father was a traveling produce salesman, and Reichert would sometimes accompany his father on these business trips, and they would stop at some of the churches on these trips. He was just really impacted, really affected by the music and the interior spaces, the light, and the architecture.
But Reichert had one more obsession early on that was a little less conventional.
He also really loved classic cars and motorcycles. He started drawing motorcycles as a kid. He made a choice as a middle schooler, really, that he was going to be an architect and he was going to be an organist, and he loved motorcycles and never really strayed from that his entire life and career.
In high school, he began working for a local Minneapolis architect, Clyde Smith, who was also a member of their church.
And whenever a project would come in that was a single-family home, for example, really less complicated project, then Clyde Smith would actually pass the job off to Robert to complete. So he was actually completing projects while he was still in high school.
Reichert also performed as a church organist, which he continued to do after he graduated high school in 1939. After his first 2 years of undergraduate study at the University of Minnesota, Reichert moved to Seattle with his parents after being recruited for a draftsman position at Boeing. He spent the next decade working in Seattle and finishing his undergraduate studies in Minnesota, as well as his master's in architecture at Harvard's prestigious Graduate School of Design. He finally settled in Seattle with his parents in 1951 and opened his own design studio.
They say that most architects improve over time and they do their best work at the ends of their careers, but I think that Robert Reichert was really fully fleshed as an architect when he designed the Bellevue Church and also his own house and studio.
His design for the first Church of Christ Scientist in Bellevue would never be built, but it was the Reichert home that really put him on the map.
Reichert always lived with his mother. She actually gave him the lot where he built his house on Queen Anne. It was just after his father had passed away. When Reichert started to build his house, it was really nothing like what people would expect to see there.
In addition to accommodations for him and his mother, Reichert also wanted the home to be his design studio, a storage place for his motorcycles, and an organ concert venue.
A large part of the section of the house is really devoted to the pipe organ.
Reichert's home was his first opportunity to create something that defined his unique design philosophy.
It's really difficult to describe Robert Reichert's architecture. The buildings really stick out as being these unusual sculptures in the landscape.
Reichert's neighbors did not share his outside-the-box philosophies about architecture.
Neighbors described it as a Freudian nightmare.
Reichert also did himself no favors by holding organ concerts in the house late at night and repairing his motorcycles in his driveway.
Neighbors would drive by and throw tomatoes at the house. One neighbor he wrote about, while he was working on his motorcycle in the garage, started spraying him with their garden hose.
But not everyone in town hated Reichert's style.
Willard Egan showed up at Reichert's house, studio in Queen Anne, came to the front door and said, "I'd like you to build a house like this."
A retired admiral in the Navy, Egan hired Reichert to build a home for him and his wife.
The really steep slope that's densely forested provided sort of a backdrop to his two-dimensional idea of this building. So there's a horizontal base that's very strong and projects out as a sort of a hood over the entry. And then he adds punches of red, kind of these little round circles.
The entrance to the home is a modest sliding glass door that provides access to a small utility room and a staircase to the second floor leading to the kitchen and main bedroom. One more flight up reveals the highlight of the home, a living room with a soaring vaulted ceiling.
At the very peak of the building, there was a little birdhouse.
Reichert often included birdhouses in the design of his homes.
He never wrote about why he did this.
In January of 1961, Reichert's mother collapsed while making him breakfast. Their strict adherence to Christian Science beliefs prevented them from seeking out professional medical assistance. His mother died that same day.
It was clearly a really traumatic event for him. He visited her in the mortuary for a week until they finally said, "You have to let her go." He experienced a period of depression and decided he couldn't live in the house any longer. During those times, the people who had taken to harassing him followed him wherever he went, and they stole his car, stole his motorcycle.
Reichert taught at the University of Washington until the late 70s. Throughout the 80s and 90s, he continued to play the organ at local churches and take occasional design jobs. And he continued to ride his cherished motorcycles. Already a loner by nature, Reichert became increasingly reclusive. When he passed away in 1996, he was found wearing his motorcycle leathers with $2,200 cash in his pocket since he didn't believe in checking accounts. But Reichert's vision lives on in the structures he designed that remain in the Seattle area.
He really thought that architecture should be kind of a metaphysical idea, that the people who experience it or use it kind of get that sense of uplift. He really wanted these buildings to somehow speak to the soul of the person occupying them.
Over the years, various owners have altered Reichert's original designs. In the late 1980s, the deck was added to the Egan House. For many years, the bold graphic elements on the exterior of his Queen Anne home were concealed by plain siding, and the unique entry decor was discarded. In 2020, a new owner restored Reichert's vision. His homes serve as monuments to the iconoclastic architect who defied the conventional mid-century residential aesthetic and proved himself to be one of Seattle's most original and enduring architects.